Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the October 27th, 2021 Zoom conversation for Coaches for Racial Equality. My name is Michael Brunker, and I've been the moderator for the Zoom call since it began on the invitation of co-founder Jeff Harper-Harris, the head boys basketball coach at Lincoln High School. And what I'd like to do at this time, for those of you that are here for the first time, and there are many of you, if you're here for the first time, can you go to your reaction and put your hand up? Just put your hand up so we know who's here for the very first time. And I want to welcome all of you who are here. Thank you for being here. I know many of you may have pre-registered to get onto the Zoom call, but what I'd like you to do is, if you'd like to continue on with what we're doing here with Coaches for Racial Equality, please feel free to go into the chat and type your name, your contact information, and then we will put that on file so we can stay in touch with you and keep you posted about the next meetings and how else you can participate. So welcome to all of you, Maria, Christina, Demetrius, James, Onise, Kathy, John, Top Dog, David, Diamond. Thank you all, and appreciate you being here so much. So you can take your hands down now, but welcome again. And all right, here comes Cynthia in here for the first time. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to share this part of the screen right here so you can see what it is we've been doing since well, you know, it's been well over a year right now, and I'll block myself so you can see all this right here. But the whole purpose of Coaches for Racial Equality has been to, number one, educate and integrate the coaches. So it's based on 4 principles that, you know, we make sure that the coaches are aware of what's going on, and they're going to do all that they can to be sure that there's nothing that even looks like a racial situation when it comes to sports. Next are the players, to be able to talk to the players about the same thing, and then educate and integrate the fan base. That's the school fan base. That's your student body fan base. And then the 4th is the educate the adults and the fans that come to the game, your alumni, parents, whatever it might be. And then the 5th element of this was to create some kind of training for coaches. And I'm happy to say that many of these things are happening right now. And that's been a result of our co-founder, Jeff Harper-Harris, who founded this before George Floyd. So this has gone on before that time. And he's done an amazing job leading this out. And there's been some other great leaders that are on the call right now. Mike Hopp, Mike Stutz. I also want to thank Lisa, Sowers here as well. You know, so we've had some great people on here. And if I can too, there's somebody that is not here that's been a part of this. John Pierce has been with us from the very beginning as well. But Debbie Blanchard, for those of us who know Debbie Blanchard, her father was called to be with the Lord this morning. So she let me know that she could not be here today because of that. And so if you can, please, if you can, just keep her in your thoughts and prayers as we continue on with this meeting tonight. So Debbie Blanchard, just remember her if you can. So as we proceed on, what we want to do right now is basically, Scott, we're going to come to you real quickly, and just basically, if you can, Scott, give us an update on what's happening from a CIF perspective for sports in general, and what we can expect to see in the next few weeks, over this next week, and as fall season ends, you know, what's coming up next.
Okay, Michael, I would just tell you that Joe's at an event today, so I know he's not going to be able to make it today. And then as far as, obviously, we're about to head into playoff season, so lots of seeding meetings this Saturday, and then we'll proceed starting next week with the actual playoffs. The biggest thing heading into the winter sports would be for San Diego Unified, the vaccination mandate, and the number one question coming in from coaches. And obviously it impacts what we saw in the fall, impacts certain communities more than others, is coaches want to know tryouts start November 6th. The December 20th is the mandate where if you're not vaccinated, you can no longer play. And so we're getting coaches that want to know, hey, do I cut a kid that's not vaccinated because he can't play in a month? Why am I going to put him on a team if he's not going to play? So that's the number one question that I'm being hit with. And we'll have to work through that or what that looks like. And then the last thing is San Diego Unified is closing in on, for the first time in at least my 20 years in the district, a middle school intramural program that we are hopefully is going to launch soon. Vertical teaming our middle to our high school. So we're excited about that. Trying to minimize everything, Michael, because I know we have important topics, but if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. And also too, if anybody has questions for Scott, please put them in the chat. We'll try to get to those as well as we continue on. So at this time right now, we want to get right into the agenda if we can. And I'm happy to introduce right now David Dunn, the head football coach at Lincoln High School, who is here with us right now. And so David, if you can, we're going to, I'm going to bring you onto the screen if I can right here. Let me find you. Let's see here. David Dunn. Okay. David, do you have your screen on? Do you have your camera on?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see. There you go. Okay. We're going to spotlight you right now. So David, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Oh man, I know it's been a long day today and a long week already for you as well, but just want to thank you, David, for coming on with us tonight. I know you've been up early. I heard the interview on KUSI this morning, and I know you've been just bombarded with requests for interviews and people talking about the announcement that came out on Monday. And we're going to talk about that in our breakout groups today as well tonight. And so if you can, do you just want to give us some background for all that may not know? And we're not going to ask a lot of questions of David right now, but David, I just want you to have this opportunity to basically let us know what's going on in your world, what you're thinking about, and what led to the decision to not play the game.
Like I was saying before, it's not, an attempt to single out anyone. It was just singling out some behaviors that are just not accepted and just not being tolerated anymore. It's making a stand for equality for all the players, for all of us as a whole, and just we're just tired of being treated unfairly, unjust, and thinking that it's just going to be okay. So that's what it's all about. I think in the end, we'll all be able to move forward and we'll work towards it. But you can't put a timeline on healing.
And probably one of the things that stood out in the interview this morning is when they tried to make it sound like it's been a year and why'd you wait so long? But you came right back quickly and said, hey, it's been 6 months, because a lot of people fail to realize that with that COVID shortened season last year and they pushed everything back into the spring, it hasn't been that long. And so, your response was spot on. I really appreciate that. And I know as we talked yesterday, I think the key things that I pointed out as well is that your players call you coach today and they're going to call you coach forever. And I know I've seen posts on Facebook from Johnny Garcia and others that just, standing with you at this time. But when you put that, when you take the title of coach, what does that mean to you? And how did that really affect this decision about not playing this game?
Becoming a coach is life-changing. If you really believe in it, it's almost like a calling. You become a mentor, father figure, an uncle, a big brother, a lot of different roles that you have to take on. You become a counselor. You become a teacher in different aspects. A coach is a very powerful position, and it's not to be taken lightly. And we have good coaches all across the county, and we all are put in situations at times where we can't control the actions of all of the kids that we're working with, especially with today's social media and different things like that. So I want to fully make people aware of that. We understand that, but having that title as coach, it gives us also we have to stand up and show great leadership. And sometimes we have to do things that people may not see, may not believe is right from their perspective, but from the perspective of where we stand and what we do with our kids and how we spend time with them on a daily basis, It's what's right for what we're building with our team and our community. And so, with that being said, yeah, I spoke with my team. I interviewed my team for a month and a half after the fact, and I talked to them individually, not as a group where things can kind of get misconstrued and taken out. Everyone kind of want to add to a certain situation. I spoke to them individually about their own feelings and things that took place, how it affected them. And it was a lot going on. People forget how we were locked up in the house with this pandemic. And at the top of the list was mental health. And it was a lot of issues that took place to where we're still dealing with now on how we deal with our kids. And that's what we have to deal with on a daily basis. I mean, any coach can attest to that. If you have a kid come off the field crying and disheveled and kind of just all over the place, how can I fix that in 10-minute quarters or 12-minute quarters? How can I fix that and get this young man back on track? Well, you may not find out things the night of. It may be the next day. It may be a couple of days later because you're off the next day. So we just need to be more careful about what's going on and paying attention to our kids and stuff. So as far as being a coach, like I said, I know it's changed my life because there's behaviors that I may have done in my past that I know I cannot do. I protect the brand is what I stand for.
Mm-hmm.
I will never put my school, my kids, or my team in a situation where I am embarrassing them. So it is something that we uphold and we live for.
And this was definitely a courageous decision. There's no doubt about it. And throughout it all, I constantly heard the terminology, this is bigger than football. Please explain.
As I've been thinking and speaking over the months, I've also seen the reactions of the community. I'm the one getting flagged down in the community, getting stopped at the grocery store, getting stopped at the gas station by fans who are furious. And they want to know what we're going to do about it. They see it's not over. It's not over. And I know my community. I was born and raised 4 blocks from Lincoln High School. So I know my community. And I wasn't just looking at the fact of the game itself. It stands for, we don't feel that the acts that were taken were genuine, even though there were attempts to reach out, and I openly say that, it wasn't genuine from the beginning, and we felt that because when we opened up early into this restorative circle, we didn't come out of it the way that we should have. And I know it takes more and more. And like I said, we as a coaching staff in the community here were very shaken by it. It opened up some old wounds, some things from a long time ago. And I think I shared a story before. When I was 9 years old, I was told by my coaching staff here at Valencia Park, right in the same neighborhood, that when we went certain places, we were going to be treated differently. We were going to be hit late. We were going to be stepped on. We may be called out of our names. It may be some things that took place that wasn't okay, but we were told to deal with it. We could not retaliate. If we did, it was going to be a 15-yard penalty or you would be kicked out of the game. And I was just sitting back thinking about this a few months ago, and I'm like, how do you process that as a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old? Is that even possible? What was being implanted in our head to accept it? And I find myself today, since I've been coaching, I've been having those same conversations with my kids. I've been telling that same message. But it was when I sat with my 9-year-old grandson and had to say that same message. This is 40 years later. How was he supposed to process that at 9 years old? Anybody, please explain that to me. We've grown to accept and just continue on, but it's not okay. That don't make it okay. So I wanted to just continue to raise the awareness of of things that's taking place, and we all got to do better. I'm not saying that Lincoln's perfect. I'm not saying that Cathedral's imperfect. We're all imperfect. and we all need to get better at something, but we're going to raise the awareness. We don't get to sweep things under the rug here. Everything that happens around here is brought to the forefront. We are held accountable at all costs. I'm asking for the same. If you're going to get rid of that's it.
That's not too much to ask. Now, we're going to break up into the groups real quick, but before we do, I also want to say that you acknowledge that Cathedral did try to do something, and you also mentioned too that if anybody's going to get this fixed into the future, it's going to be you and Sean Doyle. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Me and Sean will sit down. I mean, we have sat down before and we had a cordial conversation. And I think with me and him sitting together, just the two of us, you know, we're leading these programs. And I have nothing but the utmost respect for Sean Doyle. He's never disrespected me in any way. And I feel that we can sit down and find a way to get it fixed. Sometimes it's too much from the outside to try to come in and do these things. But I believe that me and him starting to work together can start the healing process. And it took some time because I wasn't in a space. I was there. I had to get everything from my kids first. I had to process everything, and I had to struggle with some of the things that the kids were saying and their parents were saying and how they felt before I could even make a conscious decision of how we were going to move forward with this whole deal. And so people may not respect that, but that's how I am. I always try to think things out thoroughly first without making this a harsh decision. I think me and Sean will definitely eventually during this off season, sit down and talk and start making the right move to make things right.
And that's awesome. And I think too that, you know, the bottom line, David, and you and I talked about this yesterday, the general task of leadership is to bring an unwelcome reality to an individual, an organization, an institution, a community, but there's an and proposition in between that leads to a solution. And so what we're going to do tonight right now, the first huddle we're going to break out into is going to be for 10 minutes, and it's called They Call Me Coach. And what we're going to do is break you up into 6 rooms, folks. All I'm asking is that you just pick somebody that can report out at the end of those 10 minutes, that can come back and briefly tell us what you talked about as relates to what you just heard Coach David Dunn talk about right now. That title, They Call Me Coach, if you've been around the game long enough to know, I'm sure Jeff and Mike Hopp knows this too, that was a book that was written by John Wooden. And he talked about that it's more to being a coach than just X's and O's and basketballs and footballs. There's more to the game. And David, you've epitomized that for us right now. So thank you. We're breaking out into the rooms. You'll have 10 minutes. Look forward to your conversations. We'll see you in 10.
With my son right now. Hey, he called my son up, be like, "Hey, big man, you need anything?" It's like he's a straight shooter, and I know for a fact all this stuff that's going on. First off, he was in a picture with the L's up, whatever. That started something. Coach Dahl don't know nothing about that. I'm not making no excuses for him or nothing, but he know nothing about that. He probably think it was just like they gonna lose, and then the whole man, this is crazy because I just know it's hard, and I know you're a good dude, and I'm not coming out here. Something taking nobody's side because I got love for Coach Day too, but it's just like it's not a good situation right now because I understand what Coach Day is saying, but on the same hand, I know Coach Dahl and that coaching staff. I can't speak for every coach on the team. Not saying that they bad, but the head of that realm, Coach Dahl, he's 100. A lot of people talk smack about him, but he's a good dude, and I know him since my son started graduate 2015. So I know him for over 10 years. You know what I mean? He went there when he was a freshman all the way through, and he never treated my son. And I'm on a DEI committee at my job. He always treated my son like, you talking about being on the DEI committee or being inclusive and equity. He always treated my son with respect, and he don't treat nobody different. That's all I got to say about the situation. I'm in here to support, and I support Coach Day too, because he like family too. So his grandson and my son play football together. You know what I mean? I see him. I see Coach Day around. Everybody know Coach Day, so I got enough respect for him too. So it's just like I'm just listening. That's just my part. And well, I would say one more thing. A lot of people like commenting on social media. A lot of people just commenting and going off of like what everybody else saying. They don't know the whole situation or the whole. It's just like I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm a black man, and in the black community, once we ain't with you, we want to punish you. We not punish you, but Cathedral could do whatever. It's not gonna be enough because just how it is. Like, no matter what they do, because we're into that space where the world right now has got a lot of racial tension. Black people always feel like we're always getting treated a certain way, and it's sad. Like, you know what I mean? No matter what they do right now, I don't know what it's going to take to have the healing process, because in the back of our mind, in the back of a lot of people's minds, like they full of it. They just doing it just because. You know what I mean?
And teaching kids nowadays on how to deal with racial inequality. I would love to say that booger bear is going to go away, but it's not. But we have to teach our children, number one, to love each other, regardless of race, color, and creed. And unfortunately, a lot of adults are not teaching that. So if you want to make certain that the kids are exuding love and respect and racial equality toward others, then we have to get to the adults and make them accountable and responsible for making sure that is being taught, whether at home, in the classroom, in the store, or whatever. And that's where we're missing the mark.
To try to make change. And that's huge within itself. And like I said, somebody explained it to them that it is bigger than football. Football is the tool that brought us all together and teaching us how to work together. But in the end here, some decisions are just bigger than football.
Absolutely.
I'll introduce myself. My name is Melissa Agodello. I'm co-principal at Lincoln High School. I'm incredibly honored to get to work alongside David Dunn every day. And I am here to support and to be part of the conversation.
Ed Johnson, Modern Day Catholic High School, also a coach. And Coach Dunn is echoing, the sentiment that most coaches feel, that they take the many hats. One of the hats you take, you may be a day educator or just, contracted coach after the school, but you're always educating. And some of the things that he's talking about is, it seems to be like outside the scope of a team from the outside of the scope of a coach. But when you're in there, the things that he's doing and displaying and representing right now is actually part of this one's very public. And I'm sure over the years, every coach is wearing something that's a little bit more maybe track, but not necessarily as public as what's going on. But I think, as most coaches know, it's part of the job, and it's commended for taking a stand so publicly on this, and knowing that the hundreds of emails, which I'm sure turns into thousands and a zillion retweets and such on social media, it's to be commended. Just stepping up.
You don't, you know what I'm saying? How didn't you know, Coach Jeff, that your kids was on social media putting that type of stuff on? Me personally, I think they would have went after my district, and then my district pretty much would have said, we had to get rid of you, Coach Jeff. And that's my perspective on it. And I believe that, and I'll still believe it. I'll still write out. You're investigating, but we're not having kumbayas like we're having right now. We're not. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen it. I've had my kids dress, and we talking La Jolla. I've had my kids dress in the bathroom at La Jolla High School with urine on the floor. But when you come to Lincoln, we got to give you the state-of-the-art locker rooms and make sure you're taken care of. But they didn't feel that our kids dressing in the wrestling room was available. So we dressed in the bathroom with urine. Kids are holding up themselves to dress so they don't step in urine. Brought that.
What he shared was that, a group of his roommates decided to make that gumbo, and made it for the whole group of gumbo, or for the whole group. and they enjoyed it. They had fun. And after everyone ate, they went their ways. The next day he woke up and realized that the gumbo was still sitting on the stove. And if you know anything about gumbo, and if it's sitting on the stove for longer than a day or two, you start smelling, smell gets a little strong. And he felt self-righteous, him and another roommate saying, we're not going to be cleaning it up. Somebody else needs to clean that up. Right. So they left it there. Then other roommates came and then they felt self-righteous. We're not cleaning that up. Somebody else needs to clean that up. And all along, everyone in the house is having this argument about who needs to clean it. And yet the gumbo still remains on the stove. The stench is there. Everybody's waking up. They smell it. They see it. They know what's happening. And yet no one addressed it. And if you allow things to sit and boil over time and not addressing it, what happens is you get a lot of folks like we're seeing today showing up in support out of anger, out of hurt, pain, trauma. And until we as a community try to figure out how to address this trauma, this is a great way to do it. I think Coach Dunn had mentioned that, there needs to be more. And we agree with that at MiraCosta College. And we're here to provide support and any solutions that y'all may need. Thank you.
I see we have 30 seconds, 27 seconds left. Who's next?
All right, looks like everybody's coming back. And so what we're going to do at this time right now is we're going to have a report out for each of the 6 rooms. Oh, okay. All right. I thought we got bombed for a minute. Okay, room 1. Who's the spokesperson for room 1? Who would that be? So that's Alex, Coach Lay, John Pierce, Lana, Mike, Wabo, Ronaldo, Travis, and Karina. Who's going to speak for that group? Lana, you're smiling like it might be you. Is that going to be you?
No, it's not me. I'm just waiting for him to chime in.
Who is that?
Nuabu?
Nuabu?
Nabu, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
How you doing?
Good.
So they need me to, I'm just plugging up my phone. I wanted to die. So I guess I'm the spokesperson for the group because pretty much it's just me and one other guy and the VP was talking. And what we talk about in the group is, I'm coming from a different aspect. I'm a Black man. I love my color. I support my people through whatever. And I was saying in the group, I know both coaches. I got love for Coach Dede. My son and his grandson played football on the same team. I know Coach Dede for years. My daughter played basketball at Lincoln High School, went to SCPA, won a CIF championship. My wife is real rampant in the Black community. She runs the Black San Diego group, right? So that's that aspect of it. And then on the other aspect, I know Coach Dog. My son graduated from Cathedral Catholic in 2015. Like I was telling people in the group, Coach Dog got 2 kids that adopted, 2 Black kids. Coach Dog is a real one. And I feel in my heart, if he had any inclination, he might, like Coach Dede was saying, so a lot of stuff happening on social media, whatever, you can't be accountable. But at the same time, I feel like Coach Dog, if he had any inclination or anything like this is going on, he's not going for it. Because I know his character. And like I said in the group, probably if I didn't know Coach Dole and my son didn't go to Cathedral, I'll be like, Coach Dede, let's go get him. I'm down for it. But I know Coach Dole and I know Coach Dede. They 2 upstanding gentlemen. I got love for both of them. And it's just sad because, yeah, they probably got racist people at Cathedral. My son gave me stories about the stuff that happened to him when he's at Cathedral. But when it comes to the football, the football staff, I feel like they get drug into the whole situation to where by actions of certain individuals. So the backstory, a lot of people be talking and they don't know what they're talking about. The kid who had on the jerseys, his dad played for Notre Dame. So he's part of that whole convicts versus Catholic. And you know what I mean? Rumor has it his dad gave him a t-shirt to put on, which was crazy to me. But at the end of the day, what he did, what one individual did, one bad apple spoiled the whole bunch. Now we're dealing with this situation right here. And I mean, I just, it's like bad for me because I love both coaches, and I don't really want to take no sides, but I understand where Coach Dede is coming from, because, you know, it's real. Like I said in the group,
okay, we appreciate that. We've got 5 more groups to go, but thank you. So we're going to go to group 2 right now. 60 seconds, if you can, with your summary. Who's the spokesperson for room 2?
60 seconds, man. What do I look like? What's up, Coach? Marlon Gardner, I was in group 2. Coach Jean talked about being a mom and a counselor and relating to each kid differently. Coach Dobson talked about, actually gave us a quote from Frederick Douglass about building strong children rather than broken men, building character, and that being a responsibility of coaching. Also, had another coach, and forgive me, I scribbled your name, talking about it. It's our responsibility as coaches to put these topics and these subjects out to the kids. Coach Jones made it real clear, not about wins and losses. Your record's not going to matter, but your record and the type of character and kid you build matters. Coach Hoot jumped out there, and quite frankly, he said it's a white problem. And he talked about having a different perspective 18 months ago and having been a part of conversations and that changing his outlook. And my 2 cents in it was very clear. Raise the bar. These kids will walk over hot coals for us as coaches. If you tell them after their feet are burned to go get back in line and do it again, guess what they're going to do? They're going to do it. So if you're having these conversations, if you're talking about how the hard work and the discipline and the commitment and dealing with adversity and how to compete and how to win, how to lose, all of those things, translate those things to life and include race in the actual discussion, and it'll make a difference. Raise the bar.
Building winners in the biggest game of all, the game of life. Marlon, thank you for your comments. Appreciate you. Room 3, who's the spokesperson? Says Coach Dunn, David Follow, Ed Johnson, Ismari, James, Maria, Melissa, and Mike.
I'll speak up real quick. We were lucky to have Coach Dunn in our room. So as some of us were reflecting on our positions and our thoughts on the actions of Coach Dunn in the Lincoln group, I'm saying that like I'm not a part of it. Our actions, Coach Dunn was able to kind of expand on some of his thinking, which was wonderful for all of us to hear.
But Melissa, before you go now, you signed that letter too. Tell us what went into that from as an administrator perspective, and how courageous was that for you guys to do and support your coach?
Well, I appreciate you saying it's courageous, but when you are following the lead of someone like David Dunn, it's easy. It's easy when you got that amount of blocking in front of you, right? Just to use a football analogy.
Yes, yes.
So, you know, I stand behind him in this case, quite literally. It is also easy when you have someone who is so eloquent in speaking about his conviction and knowing that it's the right thing to do. I'm lucky I get to walk around the campus and stop some of our tremendous athletes and say, how are you feeling? And they say without reservation, all of them have said, I really want to play this game. And I really understand what Coach Dunn is doing. And I'm behind him 100%. And this is what we need to do. And so my part's easy. I took a little tiny drop of ink and I put it on a piece of paper to back up a man who has done, listen, in my short time there, he's never said no to anything we've asked him to do to support the community, and he goes over and above. So it's a no-brainer. It's a non-act as far as I'm concerned.
Amen. Thank you for that report. Room 4, we've got Brian, Coach Jeff, Christina, Demetrius, Kate, Linda, Maria, Roxy, Scott, and Tracy, who will be speaking for room 4. Room 4.
Well, I was silent during this meeting to be truthful here. Coach Jeff made some very strong points. And one of the things I walked away with was that things really aren't that much better, if at all, and that there's a lot more work to do. And the decision to not play the game was well considered, and just a testament to the fact of how much work is left to do.
All right, Brian, thank you. Appreciate you, and I know the NAACP has been watching this closely as well, so thank you very much. All right, room 5, Who's the spokesperson for that room? So Dr. Robinson, Jennifer, Adrian, John, Lisa, Senta, Tanisha, and Top Dog.
Coach Robinson, you wanna take the lead on this one, sir?
Dr. Robinson, yes.
Dr. Robinson, you're on mute, sir.
I'll take myself off mute, but I would defer to Top Dog. He's a San Diego native and he expressed himself very well. So if he would take the lead on that, we would appreciate it.
All right, I'll try to make it quick. I think this is a very complicated issue. I don't think this is as simple as everybody makes it. As eloquent as I can put it, it's not a black and white issue. There's a lot of hurt. What I heard basically from Coach Dunn was hurt. I want to say that I respect the man and his decision. But I also have kids in our community at Cathedral that come home and ask their parents why this black man is calling them racist. And these kids are hurt over at Cathedral too. So I don't know if anybody's thought about that. I can't say that, but I have a lot of respect for Coach Dunn. They lose about 2 miles from me. I understand why he feels the way he does, and I do agree with that and support that. And I will make myself available, like a lot of other people, to try to bridge the gap as much as possible. And like Marlon said, raise the bar. Let's move forward. What can we do? I'm sure that Sean Doyle's got 2 African-American children. I'm sure that, he would be willing to come to the table and really, be genuine and try to do whatever we can for restorative justice and move things forward.
Thank you. Okay, room 6, Carolyn, Darion, John Long, Jonathan, Krista, Michael, Stacy, Wendell, and William.
Go ahead and say something. I know why I used to run Day off of Lincoln's campus. Didn't know he lived so close, even though he went to Morris High School. So a little inside joke, but a wonderful young man. Probably more experience. I was a vice principal, athletic director, and also the last principal of the original Lincoln High School. And so I've been in this game for a long time. What we're looking at right now has a historical presence about it that goes way back to the 50s when the school first opened. So there's a history to all of this. So if you don't know the history, then you got to be real careful about what it is that you say. And it's not just with this school, it's with other schools as well. And as David said, when our young men in the city go outside of the city, guess what? We generally have to deal with these kind of issues. So we're at a point where we as adults and our children, we can teach a phenomenal lesson. And sometimes you just have to put things to a stop and just say, what's more important? Is playing a football game more important than the social justice issues, the racial issues of systematic racism and institutional racism that's all caught up and wrapped up in this stuff? And we need to stop, and we need to understand that the issues of life are in front of us, and the lessons we teach right now will last a lifetime. This is an opportunity to teach our children how to live in a multi-racial world and live in it with love and peace and harmony. Or we can get caught up in our own selfishness, and get more involved about a football game and who's at fault, who's to blame, and all that kind of stuff. So what David has really done is brought this to a streaking halt for us as a community to begin to have dialogue about what is most important. And I'll say this sort of in conclusion. I stand as a former principal of that school who helped to design this new one along with Michael and many others in the community. We have first-class children. They're at a first-class facility. Now let's see the adults act first class and do the first-class thing, which is to help our children, regardless of what they look like and who they are, and the children of both schools come together, see, and be real serious about it. Because if one side feels there wasn't sincerity, we got a problem. So how do we bring people together and do it in a way that is going to be long lasting? So David, being that vice principal that used to run you off of our campus, I stand with you, stand behind what it is that you were doing. And I do that because I know the history of all of this stuff. And I'm glad that you have brought it to a halt. And I hope that the adults on this call and adults throughout this community and city, because this stuff needs to be called out, that we'll sit down and reckon with it and build what we say is a beloved community. So that's
Amen. Reverend Bass, thank you for that closing and perfect segue into our next breakout, which is about solutions. So now you're going to get 8 minutes right now as a group. Continue on with your conversation, laser focused on next steps on bringing a solution to this situation. And be sure to pick out somebody that will report out in 60 seconds when we come back. See you in 8.
Absolutely. That's actually Chris Smith. I used to be a member of your board over there, and I used to be Friday nights over with Pastor Hodges.
That's right. That's right. So how you doing, Chris?
Well, all things considered, this is a tough time for us right now. But we're here to talk about solutions. I want to throw this out there and let everybody know. I've already reached out to Rick Preciado, an owner of the Chick-fil-A in Grossmont and Carmel Valley. And I've asked him if Chick-fil-A would be interested in feeding 300 people so that we can have a dinner with the JV and varsity of both programs, if both head coaches are open to it, to sit down and break bread together. I think part of what we need to do in healing is get to know each other, time together, breaking bread with one another. Okay, let's really sit down at the table, both teams, JV, varsity, all the coaching staffs. Let's spend time together, away from the media, away from the schools, away from the pressure, and just spend time getting to know each other. I
don't have ill will towards Coach Doyle. It's a situation that kind of got out of hand, and that's why I say that it's not a personal attack. And as coaches, we try hard to tell our kids the right things and try to guide them the right way. But there are also kids who have their own minds and thoughts, and sometimes they do some things that are out of context. Which is why I stand with, you can, I explain to my kids all the time. The first time I meet them, they come in my office here, man, on my board, it says, you can choose your actions, but not the consequences. And that's what we stand by here. Because of someone's actions, they were not in control of the consequences of that. And sometimes, you have to deal with whatever the consequence is for that action. And it applies in all aspects of life, so you gotta think first before reacting, because you can offend somebody and you don't know how deeply you offended that person. Like I said, when we were sitting in for this whole pandemic stuff, man, and the things that we had to see and go through, I mean, there were some things that took place where I didn't leave my room for 4 days, man, out of anger and frustration and rage.
It's not as serious as people think it is until it's happened. Like, honestly, I was part of the first meeting, the Kumbaya that they came when Cathedral came over, and we had a mediator. Like I told the other group, the first thing they showed in the mediation was the Black Baby versus White Baby documentary. I don't know if you ever seen that experiment, but they showed that to the whole group of Restorative Justice, of Cathedral people, Lincoln people, myself, Coach Lonnie, Coach Day. That video pissed me off more. So I was already upset about a situation. Now I'm saying something that I saw when I was in high school in '88. And you ask yourself, what was the point? And then the question at the end of the video was, okay, tell me, how do you feel? Well, how you think I feel? How do you think they feel? How do you think Lonnie Jones feel? Now, Doyle, you know what I'm saying?
I really haven't got the acceptance from Lincoln High School. You know, I believe when Cathedral and Lincoln was meeting together, I didn't make the decision if my son was going to go to Cathedral. And I actually presented the program to Cathedral, and Cathedral presented to Lincoln. And Lincoln felt that, you know, it was a handout. And then when I circled back to Lincoln, I was like, hey, this is my program. This is Give Back to Impact. I'm just trying to bridge the gap of bringing them down and stuff. So I truly think it's a starting point. You know, I'm not saying that this is the end result, and if they do this, then everything's great. But I think, you know, people working together in some aspect is a great teaching point for everyone. I went through the third option training at Cathedral as a parent. And I'll be honest with you, before I went through it, I was kind of like, you know, hey, what is training going to do, or what is conversation going to do? But, you know, it's a starting point. I think the more that we communicate and we accept, you know, people's point of view and respect it, you know, we don't have to agree with it, but respect it. I think it's a great starting point. So
coaches can really see these boys by their eyes. Sorry about that, you guys. I know that was long-winded. I apologize.
No, not at all. And to piggyback on that a little bit, you know, as a coach, I'm very familiar with like some of the things that go on. And you talk about like the coaching exchange, and it's not like, you know, maybe 20, 30 years ago where there's not familiarity with the athletes and opposing teams and opposing coaches. There's so many venues now that teams meet from the summer through different passing leagues in football or basketball, where they cross in, you know, different tournaments in the summer and stuff. So, you know, coaches do know to some extent, you know, and players are exposed to other coaches far more than they were back, you know, say 20 years ago. One thing that we're talking about with solutions, I think it goes back to that last question, the last group. What exactly is the coach's role? Because as a coach and a teacher, man, that's a lot of scope that you're laying down on my shoulders, right? And these are all great ideas, but, you know, David definitely has the support of his administration where they're about it. Like, you know, this kind of exchange would probably be supported with them, but that's not necessarily the case with every other school. I mean, you are kind of opening up a bigger discussion about the role of a coach and the role of administration, much less the role of educators without professional help, you know, from people that Michael's brought in different groups and different forms here, and also support from higher administrations that have resources that can put these things together. There has
right what some of those stereotypes and those stereotypical comments when somebody says convict, right? That's a stereotype that is based on the color of their skin. We can't be afraid to call those things out and to name it and claim it. That this is a racial issue, and there needs to be specific anti-racist strategies and anti-Black racist strategies in order to address it.
Thanks, Wendy. Krista?
I'll keep this quicker, but what I want to say is, you know, right, we hate that these things have to happen, but you know, at least you've been on the calls too, Michael. I mean, I've never seen 62 people on a call. And so I think the first step is having this conversation. And I think that was the intent of having that. I know in my last room, there were some parents from Cathedral who like talked about the steps that the school had taken and thought that it was genuine in what they were doing. So there's just a disconnect even between, you know, the parents and what they're thinking and with Lincoln. And so, and we've talked before that a lot of the times it's the parents, the fans who are the biggest struggle in getting them on board with this. So more than just the students, right? Unfortunately, the students are the ones suffering, but really the parents are the ones that we need to be on board because they're the ones teaching these lessons to the kids, you know, at home and outside of the school setting. So I'll say my piece there.
Thanks, Krista. Anybody else? We got 30 seconds.
Well, I was switched into the room, so my name is Onyx Jones. But I definitely agree with what Krista has said. It's not the children that we really have to concern. Well, we have to concern ourselves with the children, but it's the role models that's in front of them. Where are they getting these thoughts about race, equality, or whatever? And that's what has to be addressed. Also, I think that the CIF, and I don't know, because I'm not a coach, but I'm a community, very much involved in the community, a community advocate, but we have to get the CIF involved in.
Looks like we're back after, we're going to zip through this real quick if we can. So I'm going to pull up the rooms, the breakout rooms. Room 1, who will report out on room 1? That's Demetrius, is Merrill, Jennifer, Lana, Lonnie, Michael, Ronaldo, Scott, Top Dog, and Wendell Bass.
I'll make it quick. I think the consensus was that these two men need to sit down and talk. It starts with their leadership. I offered a solution. I think Michael Martin offered a solution. But in the end, I think we pretty much agree that it comes down to Sean Doyle and David Dunn sitting down together with no hype in, no sidebar conversations, nobody else. It starts with those two men in the room deciding how they're going to take this thing forward.
Beautiful. Okay, room 2.
I guess either I could speak for room 2. Kind of like it was the same consensus that group 1 said. Coach Dunn and Coach Dunn need to sit down to talk about it. There was a lot of other stuff talked about as far as like, well, who was punished more, which school was punished more between Coronado and Cathedral. I think we need to move on from that. I mean, you can't punish somebody twice. You know what I mean, they're whatever punishment everybody got, that's besides the point. We need to move forward. Coach Dunn and Coach Dunn need to sit in the room and keep all the sidebar, because once you get sidebar, you start getting distracted on who feel this and who want this and who want to punish who. I think that's the best move for it, because I know both of them gentlemen and they both honest. They both, you know what I mean? I got love for both of them. I feel they're going to get a hand and get it in the right direction. That's pretty much what we talked about.
And before you leave too, Mrs. Smith, can I thank you and all the other Cathedral parents and folks that are on the call tonight and being here. And we hope to see you when we come back for the next one in 2 weeks. All right. So thank you for being here tonight. Room 3, that's Kathy Dean, Coach Jeff, Coach Lay, Dr. Adrian, Howard, Jonathan, Maria, Mike, Senta, and Troy. Who's that spokesperson?
I speak. It's not a football issue. Like, yeah, okay, so Doyle and Dunn need to sit down and talk. What about the Coronado situation? That ain't nothing to do with Cathedral and Lincoln. It's not a sport, it's not a one sport issue. It's every sport issue. Racial equality, I didn't start it because of the football issue. Football was worried about let them play. Football wasn't worried about what was going on with this. It's the communication. The factor is Doyle Dunn talks, but you got to have the conversation among the kids. Like, I started racial equality because one of my kids said he was getting stronger and physical to go play a white kid in North County to get his get back from George Floyd. That ain't a football issue. That's a security issue for my kid. I don't want my kid being violent, then the perception is Lincoln's kids are violent. So I had to do something to prevent that. So I said, let's have a conversation among coaches. So hopefully we can take that conversation back among kids. It's not a Doyle and Dunn issue. It's an everybody issue. It's just not happening with Lincoln and Cathedral. It's happening everywhere. Coronado and Orange Glen, Lincoln and La Jolla. So when people say it's a one, so you fix the Lincoln and Cathedral football situation, what about the Lincoln and Cathedral baseball situation? What about the soccer incident when our kids or the Morris kids are getting called beaners? Because you know what? When Coach Dunn made his statement on Tuesday, you know how many Hispanics on our campus started talking to me about their experiences when they played North County kids? So it's not just a Lincoln Cathedral issue. That's the problem. It's a whole county issue. South of 8 versus north of 8 has been a major issue. Mr. Bass said that. I remember when Coach Polk went up to Escondido, that situation, that wasn't a bad football issue. That was a race issue. So until we stop pinpointing, oh, it's just this issue over here. No, it's a major issue. And Doyle's a great man. Coach Dunn's a great man. So why don't we have all these great coaches like Hop and everybody that's been on these calls find a solution instead of just saying, oh, it's a Doyle Dunn situation, because it's not. We passed that. It was an incident. Coronado and Orange Glen didn't have nothing to do with Lincoln and Cathedral, did it? That was a basketball game. That was a football game. There was also an incident on the baseball field. There was also an incident on the soccer field. So it's happening in every sport. Let's not just say, oh, let's get it fixed over here and not worry about it over there. That's my 2 cents.
Well
Jeff,
said, Jeff. Well said.
And Jeff, you know too that we have had more than coaches on this call. We have had student athletes on this call that have given us their lived experiences, and they've told us about it, both boys and girls. And so this is bigger than the game. You're right. Room 4. Thank you, Jeff. Hank, Jelani, John, Kelly, Lamar, Linda, Tracy, and Travis, who will be speaking.
I'll speak. This is Lamar Andrews. Yeah, I definitely agree with Jeff. It's a national incident. It's a national situation. It's not just a San Diego County. You know, I'm from LA. I'm in Inglewood right now, and we're dealing with these situations in Inglewood, California as well. So I think perception sometimes helps change the view or alter views of young adults. I've proposed a event, Thanksgiving giveaway that I've done for years in the Southeast community, in the Chula Vista community, with professional athletes such as LaDainian Tomlinson and Terrell Davis, of trying to help bridge the gap. I'm not saying that it's a end result, but I think it's a starting point. I was willing to bring some students from Cathedral down to the Jackie Robinson YMCA. I was hoping to get some students from Lincoln High School together and have them work together to benefit the communities and the families down in the Southeast San Diego area. I think that's a great starting point. It's not the end point. It's not a handout. I've been doing this for years. We've never considered a handout anywhere we go. And there's a lot of people in need in the Southeast community. And it's a bigger issue, like Coach Jeff said, you know, and it's the issue I think that's not going to be solved with Cathedral and Lincoln or Orange Glen and Coronado. We're going to face these issues for a long, long, long time. So how do we teach our kids to deal with this issue? I have a young African-American 9th grader at Cathedral that not only, you know, could deal with this issue on a Friday night football game, but could deal with this issue every day. So I'm trying to teach him how to deal with this and how to communicate and interact with people that might not like how he looks.
Thank you, Lamar. Okay, room 5, Alex, Christina, David, Ed, James, Jerome, Maria, Melissa, Stacy, and Tanisha, who will be speaking on behalf of room 5. Anybody?
I'm sorry, I was muted. So
okay, yeah.
The same consensus with the other group, just in a broader scope. We're talking about dialogue within the leaders. And I kind of pushed the point that as a coach, you know, it's not only, that's a lot on the shoulders of the coach. I think Jeff eloquently put it out there. It's not just, you know, between these particular programs, it's something that's like, should be done, you know, section-wide or nationwide, but it's the resources that need to be allocated for the coaches and administrators are beyond the scope sometimes of education. It's like in this forum, you've given us exposure to different people from different walks of life, different professions that have a perspective that's a little more professional and guided in that. It's like, you know, we're coaches and we get after the X's and O's and preparation, stuff like that. And as teachers, you still have your responsibility in the classroom, but aside from the regular dialogue, we do need to talk how to direct that. And that's what sports is for, right? All these kids are supposed to be exposed to different people, different cultures, and the Pollyannic world. Kind of grow from that. But it's obvious that that kind of thing is.
Thank you, Ed. All right, and wrapping this up, room 6, who will speak on behalf of room 6?
I'll go, Michael. Basically, we were talking about having, you know, Coach Dunn and Coach Doyle sit face to face, you know, and put things together. Obviously, the solution would be to never to need to have a discussion about race. You know, it's been going on for a long time. Maybe take some short steps that would help us make progress and not do something big. And then Wendy basically said that, you know, race is an everyday thing, that maybe there needs to be find a safe space for healing. call us out as a racial issue, because it is, and just make sure that their kids have role models, that a lot of this comes from how they're raised, that the parents have an influence on the kids, based on who they see and how they act. So, there's a lot of things that need to happen.
Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate you. And to close us out tonight, we're going to bring back up Coach Jeff and Coach Dunn for closing comments. David, if you turn your camera on, I can add you to the spotlight. All right, Jeff, take it away. You're on mute, Jeff.
Oh, sorry about that. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody that showed up tonight. I know most people showed up to see what Coach Dunn was going to say about why he made his decision. And I first thank Coach Dunn for showing up. Coach Dunn's been on these calls before, though, so it's nothing new. And Scott Juicy has been on these calls. Many people have been on these calls, and I thank you and continue to thank you guys. For some of us that wasn't in the same room with me that heard why I started it and why I say I'm the co-founder. I'm the co-founder because my dad's the other person who helped me start this. My dad died last year. And he was telling me that no matter what I do, I got to stay to fight. When people don't want to come, don't worry about it. If you can get 2 people to talk about it, you're making change. If you can get 150 people on the call, that's great. But you won't have people that looks like you. You will have friends that say, I don't want to be on it because it's not my problem. It's not a black thing. It's not a black coach's thing. It's their fault. You got to stay the focus. So my dad always kept telling me that and telling me that up until the day he passed. So again, like I said, the reason I started it because it started out protecting my kids at Lincoln. I'm gonna just be honest. When my player said he's working out in COVID, push-ups and getting stronger, not for basketball. He didn't say nothing about getting better for basketball. Because I'm a basketball coach, I'm like, hey man, I'm hoping that I'm fired up that he's working out in COVID. He said it to be violent. He said it to when he played somebody in North County or a white kid, he's going to get his get back from George Floyd. We just sat there and watched CNN for the last 3 months in riots and protests. He's been on frontline protests in San Diego. He's wasn't violent. And I did this to have a communication because I knew if he does that, he will get penalized worse than somebody who does it maybe in North County. He may be arrested. He may be suspended. He may be expelled. I will maybe fired because I can't control my kids. So it became a safety thing. So I let our kids talk about it. So I'm like, hey, maybe coaches, there's other coaches out there whose kids are going through that. Maybe we should have that conversation with kids north of 805. That's the reason Coaching Ratio was started. It started with the group that's here. It was 100 people, 30 people. I put out the 400 different emails. I put it out to football coaches. But at that time, it was let them play was the priority over racial whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I know some people are not coming back because Coach Dunn already told everybody why he, made his decision. So those that do come back will I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? Those that don't come back, you heard Coach Dunn say what he said, that you can take it back. Maybe take back that we do need to have a dialogue. You know what I'm saying? We have to have a dialogue. We have to have some type of solution. I just start this, you know what I'm saying? When I started it, was I angry? Yeah, I was angry. I just seen George Floyd. But hey, we've been here before, right? Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, it's nothing new, right? But George Floyd sparked everything. Okay, well, let's run with it. So I appreciate everybody that's coming on. I appreciate people that continue to come on. I appreciate people who want to stand up and fight for the right cause. Again, it's not a football issue. It's not a baseball issue. It's not a basketball issue. It's a human being issue. If you feel, you know what I'm saying? Yes, there's racism in the world. Have I experienced it? Yes. Have my players experienced it? Yes. Have many coaches in this county experienced it? Yes. Right. And the last thing is, I told somebody earlier today, it's a little different. You know what I'm saying? I respect Mike Hop fully. Great coach, does a great job. All my counterparts. But me and Coach Dunn or Coach McNair over at Morris or Coach Ed over at Crawford, it's a little different coaching these type of schools. I don't know how many coaches went to funerals in COVID. Raise your hand if you went to a funeral, one of your players' funeral throughout COVID because they was murdered in a drive-by or over their overdose. I'll raise my hand. Coach Dunn will probably raise his hand. It's a different beast. It's a different thing when I walk in the gym. I don't walk in thinking I'm gonna have 3 hours of practice a game of basketball because I'm worried about what my kids at. I'm worried about are they fed today. Most of my kids live with grandparents. Most of my kids are single parents. So it's a different thing. And I say that because people look at wins. Some people look at how many banners in my gym or how many rings on my finger. I look at my kids show back at school tomorrow. That's a win. That's my win. That's Coach Dunn's win. That may not, some people may not matter. We're talking about a football game. Or we talking about a basketball. I'm talking about tomorrow morning, I got to get on campus and hope to God that every kid that went home today comes back. That's the bottom line. You can have the wins. My win's a little different than most coaches' wins. Or Coach Dunn's win's a little different. So understand the passion about it is, yeah, we're going to protect our kids. And same thing, Cathedral. They're going to protect their kids. Cathedral got kids from Southeast San Diego. I get it. Every kid's not racist. Every kid, you know what I'm saying, doesn't go through that. But it's still, it's a communication thing. Let's let the kids talk. Let's us step back and give them the forum to talk to each other. Maybe they can figure out why kids in Southeast may go to Cathedral. Or maybe, but let me tell you this, like Lincoln's, the Morrisons and the Lincolns of America are not the violent schools that is portrayed. So stop using it as a tool to recruit and just say, you know what, come over here because of A, B, C, and D. Because when you say violence or you say this, you're not going to get an education, it sends the wrong message. It's a game. We all know that every kid ain't going to the NFL and the NBA, that their high school career may end. I know that. I tell my kids that. But they still going to be better human beings because they went through your program at Cathedral. They went through the program at Lincoln. They went through Morris. But again, I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you. Hey, y'all stay blessed. And thanks, Coach Dunn. Thanks for showing up.
David, any parting comments?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, I just want to say I appreciate Coach Jeff for putting this all together. I remember when he started it. Coach Jeff is a man that speaks from his heart and with a lot of passion. And it's truly an honor to work with Coach Jeff. Beside Coach Jeff, he does a lot of live stuff from his car. No, he's either coming to work or working someone out or picking someone up, dropping them off. And from the look in the background, I think he's in the underground parking lot up here, still at the school. Well, Jeff, you can look at here. I'm still in the office here at the school as well because we live here. You know, it's really a part of us. And that's what people don't really understand. Yes, it is 8:30. We live here. My son's over there doing his homework, and my son's friends here doing. I got to drop him off at home, and then my fiance is here, and we're here. We're here. So this is a part of our homes, and I just appreciate Coach Jeff bringing this forum to the forefront. I also want to add that when I'm saying that this stance is bigger than football, that's also what I mean. Is this is not just for Lincoln High School. I'm not making a stand just for Lincoln High School. I'm making a stand for everybody. That's why I'll say we all can do better. This is not just a personal Coach Dunn and Coach Doyle thing. It's not a personal Lincoln and Cathedral thing. This is something that needs to be not swept under the rug and brought to the forefront for everybody to still see and say, hey, that still is a problem and it needs to be dealt with. You know, and to go into a little bit more of a reason of why we made this decision. It's so easy for everyone to point the finger at Lincoln. Ever since I've been here, everybody points the finger at Lincoln. Anything that goes wrong, I had to be at Lincoln. It's about those kids. It's about that community. We are always blamed. Here I am, and here we are making a stand for something that is powerful and bigger than us, and yet we're getting blamed and accused of, oh, you're running, you're ducking this, you're ducking that. We're not ducking anything. How many people are afraid to stand up? That's who's ducking. I'm not ducking anything. We're not ducking anything. And that's the whole point of this. It is bigger than football. It's bigger than all sports. It is something that we need to deal with. We just use our sport our sport is being used to bring everyone together and put the situations right in front of us. But we have to still deal with this and not just continue to sweep things under the rug. I don't want my grandson and my son to continue to go places, and I'm telling this is what we have to accept. We don't have to accept any of it. We have a choice. We have a choice. And that's what I'm standing on, is that you can choose your actions, but not the consequences of them. Okay, that's so serious. That's so the point. When we were discussing this, I said to my administration and me and Coach Jeff and Coach Lonnie, I said, hey, so what if we heighten security? Okay, we were all talking about extra security at the game, private security at the game, extra school police, extra outside police, all because you have to come to Lincoln High School. How does that look? Okay, how does that look? Everyone else is looking at you got to have all this because we want the private school, or we feel that these kids need be protected coming down to Lincoln High School. We've had no problems here. It just feeds into exactly the profiling. It feeds into the profiling. Why would I want my kid to go there? They got to have all this police. No, we don't have to. We don't have no issues here like that. But it will be made to see that. And if my community members come back with shirts that say things that are not or will be offensive to the Catholic community or anything like that, is my job going to be safe? As a head coach, I'm responsible for my fans as well. Is everything going to be okay with that? No, and nobody's thinking about that part. And I know my community. Yes, they are angry. They do want to make. There are shirts out there that are not nice and says some things that's going to be derogatory and people are going to take and extremely offensive. And all I see in my mind is that's what you would expect from Lincoln. Everything will be negative towards Lincoln. I didn't want to put us in that light. Not only am I protecting our players and our kids in our community, I'm also protecting the integrity of our school. So the decision is so much bigger than football, and everyone is only looking at one thing. And we're looking at everything because it affects us. Every time there's an issue, we are at blame, and we always have to explain ourselves. Why was I asked to explain where I was on Friday night? Because I chose to attend an event to honor a slain young lady in support of providing a safe space for victims of domestic violence. That was a choice that I made. Why do I have to explain that? Like people making it seem like, oh, you just left to go to Vegas for a party. No, I went for a valid reason. But we always have to explain. That's the problem. We always got to have an explanation. And so all I'm saying is we all, at the end of the day, we all can do better. We all need to do better. We need to respect one another. We need to teach our kids to respect each other. And they got to control this social media because kids can lose scholarships. Kids can lose everything that they work for because of a dumb tweet, a dumb picture, or insensitive picture, or a racial remark. And that needs to be spoken on, and it needs to be taken way more serious than what it is.
David, thank you for that. And I'm glad you talked about Friday night, because when the person that asked the question on the interview this morning on TV, he didn't know what to say after you responded when you said that your coach asked you to come to support that fundraiser for a slain victim of domestic violence. And that was character counts. But when you're talking about Jeff doing Facebook Lives from his car, when you did that interview this morning on TV, tell them who was in your car.
Yes, indeed. My fiance and my son and my daughter, getting ready to take the kids to school and do the things that we do before we head up to our jobs. It's about family. It's about family. It's about teaching the right things and having them see us stand up for the right things.
That's right. Family first all the time. And I think we've got a little family going on right here with Coaches for Racial Equality. So David, thank you so much for coming on today. I know it's been a long day for you, a long week. Jeff Harper-Harris, co-founder of Coaches for Racial Equality. Here we are going strong. And like Jeff said, whether there's two or more gathered in his name, we're going to do some great things. And right now, we had probably the most we've had on this call for a long time, but this call has been recorded. I will be creating a YouTube video of this. There'll be a link. I'm going to ask all of you to take this and share it and amplify it and get it out there to all that need to hear and see what this is all about. And remember, our next meeting, it's every other Wednesday. The next meeting will be November 10th at 7 o'clock. We'll be here will you at Coaches for Racial Equality. Thank you all for coming. Good night to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Stop, dog. Thank you.
With Realtor.com's home alerts, we found our new desert home really fast.
Mr. McCoy, still ugly. I said it.